Dubai's skyline glittered like a necklace of stars strung across the desert horizon. Beneath its towering spires, in penthouses lined with marble and glass, the city's elite played out stories most people only saw on Instagram. Among them was Rashid Al-Mansoor, a magnetic Emirati influencer whose life was an intoxicating cocktail of luxury cars, five-star vacations, and designer brands. His 18 million followers devoured every curated post, him feeding a baby tiger at a private zoo, him stepping off a helicopter in Santorini, him draped in bespoke kanjaras under golden desert light. To the world, Rashid seemed untouchable, a modern prince with everything. What his followers didn't see were the layers beneath the filters. Rashid had built his brand on image management, always smiling, always giving, always above reproach. But beneath the polished exterior, he was restless. The adrenaline of deals and sponsorships no longer thrilled him. He wanted something dangerous, something to remind him he was alive. That something arrived at a runway show in the Burj Khalifa's ballroom. Sophia Klein, a German model with sharp cheekbones and an aura of quiet sophistication. Rashid was drawn to her immediately, the way she carried herself with poise rather than desperation. Their connection was instant, magnetic. Within weeks, Sophia's discreet visits to his penthouse became their secret routine. Rashid found her refreshing, elegant, educated, and worldly enough to understand discretion. But temptation has a way of multiplying. At a private yacht event hosted by an Italian designer, Rashid met Mila Novic, a Serbian model known for her wild energy and reckless charm. Mila was the opposite of Sophia, impulsive, fiery, and endlessly entertaining. Rashid was intoxicated by her unpredictability. Against his better judgment, he let the flirtation become something more. Mila made him feel young and untamed, while Sophia made him feel respected and complete. For a while, he believed he could keep both worlds apart. Mila adored the thrill of secrecy, while Sophia trusted his assurances. Rashid was careful, separate circles, private yachts, encrypted messages. But Dubai's high society was small, and whispers were currency. The first sign of trouble came quietly. One morning, Rashid received an anonymous text. "Your perfect life isn't as private as you think." He dismissed it as jealousy, a byproduct of fame, but the unease lingered. He began to notice curious glances at events, a hint of suspicion in Sophia's smile, and an edge of possessiveness in Mila's laughter. Even so, Rashid pushed forward, signing new sponsorship deals, posting carefully staged photos, and hosting lavish gatherings. He believed appearances were everything. At a rooftop soiree, he raised a glass of Dom Perignon, toasting the glittering skyline. "To perfection," he declared, even as shadows gathered beneath the lights. Unbeknownst to him, Sophia had started to notice inconsistencies. Nights Rashid claimed to be abroad but was spotted in the marina, the lingering scent of a different perfume on his jacket. Mila, too, began to sense her exclusivity slipping. She scrolled through Sophia's Instagram late at night, noting comments from Rashid and patterns in his travel posts. The stage was quietly setting itself. Three beautiful people, a city built on spectacle and secrets too explosive to remain hidden. Beneath Dubai's polished veneer, the seeds of jealousy and betrayal had already been sown, seeds that would bloom into tragedy. And while Rashid believed he was the master of his narrative, he didn't yet realize that the story had slipped beyond his control. The world he had so carefully curated for millions was about to shatter in a way no filter could repair. Dubai's winter season brought cooler breezes and an influx of celebrities, socialites, and jet-setters. The marina's superyachts gleamed under perfect blue skies, and high-end clubs pulsed with imported DJs. Rashid Al-Mansoor thrived in this environment. His schedule was a blur of brand launches, photo shoots, and clandestine meetings with two women who believed they held his heart. Sophia Klein, ever poised, began to sense subtle changes. Rashid's texts grew sporadic, his explanations too rehearsed. Once she arrived unexpectedly at his penthouse, only to find the faint trace of an unfamiliar perfume lingering in the air. She smiled through her doubt, telling herself that jealousy was beneath her, but the unease dug deeper. Meanwhile, Mila Novic relished the thrill of a secret affair with an influencer. Rashid's attention made her feel electric, but she noticed his phone face down more often, his laughter quieter. Mila wasn't patient or discreet by nature. One night at a VIP lounge, she scrolled through social media and froze. Rashid had commented on a photo of Sophia's Paris runway moment, a comment too tender, too familiar. A bitter knot formed in her chest. Dubai's social ecosystem amplified everything. Whispers became rumors in hours. A leaked photo surfaced on a gossip account. Rashid and Sophia together at a private gallery, an image Mila had never been meant to see. The caption read, "Dubai's golden couple?" The post was deleted within minutes, but screenshots had already circulated. Rashid attempted damage control. To Sophia, he brushed it off. "She's just a friend from the industry." To Mila, he spun a different story. "Sophia is publicity, just business." His charisma had always been enough to smooth over cracks, but now both women began seeking their own answers. Mila started asking questions quietly, texting mutual acquaintances, tracking Rashid's tagged locations. Sophia, dignified but hurt, chose a subtler path. She began observing his patterns, his schedule, the small details he overlooked. The air between Rashid and both women thickened with unspoken suspicions. The influencer's public life didn't falter. On Instagram stories, Rashid posted dazzling sunsets from Jumeirah Beach, luxury car deliveries, and philanthropy appearances. To his millions of followers, he was still the man who had everything. But behind closed doors, tension simmered. At a designer's yacht preview, Mila arrived unexpectedly. She spotted Sophia across the deck, laughing with friends. The two women's eyes met briefly, no words exchanged, just a flicker of recognition and threat. Rashid felt the weight of their stares and quickly maneuvered to keep them apart, but the illusion of control was slipping. Dubai's nightlife became a chessboard. Rashid orchestrated appearances carefully, arranging separate circles of friends and events to avoid collisions. But the city was too small and the stakes too high. The smallest oversight could, and soon would, ignite disaster. Late one night, Mila sent Rashid a voice note. "I know you're lying to me, don't play games." Her voice trembled with a mixture of anger and fear. Sophia, on her part, grew quieter, colder, her questions sharper. Rashid reassured himself that neither would leave. He was the prize, the center of gravity. But that certainty blinded him. Behind the marina's sparkling waters and skyline, the triangle was hardening into something volatile. Pride, jealousy, and betrayal had begun to fuse into a dangerous mix. The next encounter wouldn't be a polite exchange of glances. It would be a confrontation that no amount of wealth or charm could contain. The Dubai marina glittered like a jeweled necklace under the night sky, its mirrored waters carrying the glow of luxury yachts. Rashid Al-Mansoor arrived at Pier 7 in a tailored midnight blue suit, his trademark confidence restored. Tonight was meant to be a distraction, a small gathering on his friend's yacht to celebrate a new sponsorship deal. But the air around him was charged, as if the city itself sensed the brewing storm. Sophia Klein was already aboard, her elegance unshaken. She wore a sleek emerald gown that caught the yacht's lights in rippling waves. She greeted Rashid with a polite kiss on the cheek, her expression unreadable. Mila Novic arrived minutes later, her fiery red dress a bold statement. Her eyes darted from Rashid to Sophia and back again, suspicion flashing like heat lightning. Rashid tried to keep the two women apart, mingling strategically, pouring champagne and laughing louder than usual. But the marina's whispers had already done their work. Both women knew more than he realized. When a mutual acquaintance jokingly referred to Sophia as Mrs. Al-Mansoor, Mila's grip on her glass tightened until it cracked, a thin line of blood forming on her finger. She excused herself and found Rashid near the stern. "How long were you planning to humiliate me?" she hissed, voice low but sharp enough to cut through the music. Rashid's charm faltered. "Mila, not here, this isn't what you think." But her eyes burned with betrayal. Sophia joined them unexpectedly, her calm demeanor masking the storm beneath. "Actually," she said, her tone like ice, "it's exactly what it looks like." She held up her phone, a photo displayed. a screenshot of Rashid and Mila in an intimate moment weeks earlier. Someone had sent it anonymously, and now the triangle had no secrets left. Rashid's carefully curated world unraveled in an instant. Voices rose, a few guests turned their heads. Rashid begged them to lower their voices, but neither woman would yield. Mila's anger spilled out, accusations of lies, broken promises, and public embarrassment. Sophia's words cut deeper, not with fury, but with a precise, cold disappointment. "You played us both, and you thought your money would protect you." The yacht's owner intervened, ushering curious onlookers away. Rashid guided both women into a quieter cabin below deck, but the damage was irreversible. Mila accused Sophia of complicity. "You knew about me and stayed." Sophia replied, "I stayed because I loved him, but I won't compete for scraps." Their words ricocheted off polished walls as Rashid stood trapped between them, his usual control slipping through his fingers. A sudden lurch of the yacht as it shifted position in the marina sent a bottle crashing to the floor, shattering. The sound was like a gunshot in the tense silence that followed. Rashid reached out instinctively to steady Mila, but she pulled away. "Don't touch me," she snapped, her voice breaking. By the time the yacht returned to the dock, the party had disbanded. Mila stormed off without looking back, her heels clicking angrily on the pier. Sophia lingered for a moment longer, her parting words quiet but heavy. "You'll regret this, Rashid, not because you lost me, but because you underestimated us." Rashid remained aboard, staring at the marina skyline. The city that had always felt like his playground now seemed like a trap. He told himself it would blow over, that both women would cool off, and his public image would survive. But beneath his polished exterior, a knot of unease tightened. The triangle was no longer just a scandal waiting to leak, it was a fuse burning toward an explosion. Unbeknownst to Rashid, a bystander on another yacht had recorded part of the confrontation. By morning, snippets of the video would circulate in private WhatsApp groups and soon after on social media. Dubai's gossip ecosystem was relentless. The carefully managed image of Rashid Al-Mansoor, the untouchable influencer and philanthropist, was cracking. Far away in her apartment, Mila poured herself a drink, her hands trembling. Sophia sat alone on her balcony, the city lights blurring through unshed tears. Both women, humiliated and hurt, began contemplating their next moves. The marina had witnessed their betrayal, but the real fallout was yet to come. Somewhere in that glittering cityscape, the seeds of bloodshed had already been sown. The following week in Dubai felt heavy, as if the marina itself held its breath. Rashid Al-Mansoor retreated from the spotlight, posting only recycled content on his social feeds to avoid questions. Yet behind the scenes, the tension between him, Sophia Klein, and Mila Novick was far from cooling. It was spiraling. Sophia, normally composed, found herself checking her phone obsessively, replaying that yacht confrontation in her mind. Betrayal gnawed at her pride. Her friends advised her to walk away quietly, but the thought of being a silent casualty of Rashid's games enraged her. Mila, on the other hand, simmered with humiliation. She had been the one dismissed as just a fling, and the shame stoked a reckless anger. One evening, Rashid summoned both women to his private penthouse overlooking the Burj Khalifa. He framed the meeting as a chance to clear the air before things got further out of control. The skyline twinkled through floor-to-ceiling windows as the two women arrived separately, neither willing to give an inch. Sophia spoke first, her voice steady but edged with steel. "You lied to us both. You treated us like trophies, and now you expect us to fix your mess." Rashid raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. "I never meant to hurt either of you. I cared for you both, but things got complicated." Mila laughed bitterly. "Complicated? You broadcast your life to millions, but couldn't be honest with the two people closest to you." As the conversation escalated, the polished surface of Rashid's world began to crack. Words became accusations, accusations became shouting. Rashid's temper flared, his charm giving way to raw defensiveness. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. My family, my sponsors, they expect perfection. I was trying to protect all of us." Sophia stepped closer, her face pale but determined. "Protect us? You protected yourself, and now you've dragged us into your lies. Mila, her hands trembling, picked up a crystal tumbler from the bar. Do you even feel guilty, or are we just collateral damage in your brand? She spat, slamming the glass onto the counter hard enough to crack it. The argument moved toward the balcony. Outside, the city pulsed below, indifferent to the storm unfolding above. Rashid tried to physically separate the two women as they hurled bitter truths. In a sudden, heated moment, Mila shoved Rashid's arm away. He stumbled backward, colliding with a table. The sound of splintering glass echoed across the room. For a heartbeat, silence hung in the air, then panic set in. Rashid wasn't seriously hurt, but the look in his eyes had changed. Gone was the confident influencer. In his place was a man cornered, afraid of losing everything. He lashed out verbally, telling Mila to get out before you ruin more lives. Mila froze, her anger tipping into something darker. You've already ruined mine, she whispered. Sophia intervened, grabbing Mila's arm and urging her to leave. But as they moved toward the door, a loud knock rattled the penthouse. Someone had heard the shouting and called security. Rashid quickly smoothed his expression, telling the guard outside that it was just a private argument. The incident was brushed aside, but word of the disturbance reached the building's staff. In Dubai's tight-knit elite circles, gossip traveled fast. Later that night, Rashid scrolled through messages on his phone, some from anonymous numbers threatening to leak the yacht video, others from sponsors subtly warning him to keep his name out of scandal. He poured himself a drink, hands shaking. He didn't know that, across the city, Mila was venting to a confidant about revenge, and Sophia was drafting a statement she considered sending to a journalist. What had begun as a glamorous love triangle was now a powder keg of wounded egos, public image, and secrets too valuable to stay hidden. The confrontation had ended without physical harm, but the emotional fractures ran deep, and the marina skyline seemed to gleam with the promise of darker nights ahead. Morning in Dubai began with shimmering sunlight on glass towers, but for Rashid Al-Mansoor, the city's brilliance felt harsh and unforgiving. The yacht video, 30 seconds of heated words and angry gestures, had escaped the closed chat groups overnight and was now trending on regional gossip accounts. The caption beneath one repost was brutal. Dubai's golden boy caught juggling two lovers. His phone vibrated endlessly, sponsors calling for explanations, friends sending warnings, and family members demanding he stay silent. Rashid's reputation, once untouchable, was slipping through his fingers faster than desert sand. Sophia Klein woke to hundreds of notifications as her own name appeared alongside Rashid's in the scandal. She scrolled through comments that dissected her life, her career, even her accent. One post called her the woman foolish enough to think a billionaire could be faithful. The humiliation stung more than the betrayal itself. By mid-morning, a modeling agency quietly informed her that a pending campaign in Milan was being reevaluated. Mila Novick faced a different kind of fallout. While some sympathized with her as the wronged woman, others painted her as the instigator who had jeopardized Rashid's career. Dubai's party scene was suddenly less inviting. Acquaintances avoided eye contact, and 2 invitations she'd accepted were rescinded without explanation. The marina's glamorous world had turned cold overnight. Desperation pushed Mila to action. She contacted a friend connected to a regional tabloid, hinting she might share her side of the story. If Rashid thinks he can silence me, he's wrong, she said over the phone, her voice sharp. But when the tabloid pushed for explicit details, she hesitated. Part of her still wanted him to come clean on his own. Rashid tried to contain the narrative. He called Sophia, promising to make a public statement that would protect everyone's dignity. But Sophia was done with quiet compliance. You don't get to control this anymore, she replied coolly. Mila, meanwhile, ignored his texts entirely. That evening, Sophia attended a private art show in DIFC. The event should have been routine, but whispers followed her from room to room. A gallery owner offered polite sympathy, then mentioned seeing Mila dining with a rival influencer earlier that day. Sophia realized the story was spiraling beyond anyone's control. The breaking point came when an anonymous account posted screenshots of private messages, some of Rashid's flirtations with Mila, others hinting at promises he'd made to Sophia. Though unverified, the leaks inflamed the online frenzy. The influencer's sponsors began to distance themselves publicly. A luxury watch brand removed a photo of Rashid from its campaign banner, replacing it without comment. In a moment of mounting paranoia, Rashid accused both women of leaking the messages. He called Sophia late at night, his tone laced with anger. "If this ruins me, I'll take you both down with me." She hung up without answering. Mila, receiving similar accusations, responded with venom. "You ruined yourself." Meanwhile, the marina's social ecosystem was alive with speculation. Small details, like a security guard recalling a loud argument in Rashid's building or a yacht crew member hinting about a broken glass and a cut finger, fed the gossip machine. The city's elite watched the scandal with a mix of amusement and fear. If someone as powerful as Rashid could be exposed, anyone could be. The marina skyline glittered indifferently while reputations fractured beneath it. For Sophia and Mila, the choice now seemed stark. Walk away and watch Rashid spin the story, or risk everything to reveal the full truth. Neither woman realized just how dangerous the next move could be. In a world where influence meant power and power demanded silence, even the smallest leak of truth could push someone over the edge. Rashid, pacing his penthouse with the blinds drawn, poured another drink and stared out at the city lights. Somewhere below, Dubai's waters whispered against the marina's hulls, carrying secrets toward a deadly confrontation that no one could yet imagine. The Dubai marina was electric that Friday night, the city's heartbeat pulsing through rooftop lounges and waterfront promenades. Rashid Al-Mansoor, desperate to reclaim control of his image, had arranged an exclusive midnight yacht party. His public post framed it as a charity networking event. But behind the scenes, it was a calculated move to distract the media and prove he was still the marina's golden boy. The yacht glittered with fairy lights, champagne flutes lined the bar, and a DJ spun upbeat tracks to mask the tension. Rashid moved through the crowd with forced ease, his smile polished but brittle. He hadn't invited either Sophia Klein or Mila Novick, yet a part of him feared, maybe even expected, them to show up. Around 1:00 a.m., the marina's breeze carried an unwelcome surprise. Sophia stepped aboard. She wore a sleek black cocktail dress, her expression calm but her eyes sharp. Conversations hushed momentarily as guests registered her arrival. Rashid's chest tightened. Her presence was a silent challenge. Half an hour later, Mila appeared, her entrance even more dramatic. Dressed in a scarlet gown, she sauntered aboard with a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. Some guests exchanged awkward glances, others pulled out their phones discreetly. Rashid's pulse quickened. The triangle he'd tried to contain was now center stage. The yacht pulled away from the dock, its engines humming as it glided into deeper waters. Music thumped, glasses clinked, but beneath the party's glamour, an undercurrent of dread threaded through the air. Rashid cornered Sophia near the upper deck. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. She tilted her head. "Neither should Mila, but here we are." Below deck, Mila mingled strategically, dropping pointed comments to anyone who would listen. Hints about Rashid's lies, his broken promises, the scandal he'd created. Word traveled quickly through the confined space. Rashid's perfect night was fracturing. Tensions boiled over near 2:15 a.m. on the aft deck, away from most of the guests. Sophia confronted Rashid quietly but firmly. "This ends tonight. You choose honesty or you lose everything." Moments later, Mila joined them, her voice sharp. "Honesty? He doesn't even know what that means." The confrontation escalated. Voices rose, words sharpened. The marina lights shimmered in the distance like indifferent stars. Guests nearby pretended not to listen, but their stolen glances betrayed curiosity. Rashid tried to walk away, but Mila grabbed his arm. "You don't get to walk away this time," she hissed. A struggle of words turned into a struggle of movement. Sophia stepped between them, trying to defuse the moment, but her own anger flared. Someone's drink spilled, a glass shattered, and in the chaos, a scream sliced through the music. The yacht's DJ cut the sound instinctively, and silence fell except for the lapping waves. Guests rushed to the deck to find a scene of horror. Mila on the ground, bleeding, and Rashid standing frozen, shock written across his face. Sophia's trembling hands were streaked with red as she tried to staunch the wound, shouting for help. Panic erupted. Phones were pulled out, but Rashid barked at everyone to stop recording. The yacht's captain, Yusuf Hamdan, called emergency services while steering the vessel back toward the marina. The once glamorous party now felt like a crime scene. Some guests whispered that they had seen Rashid shove Mila, others insisted she had lunged first. No one's story matched perfectly. By the time the yacht reached the dock, Dubai police and paramedics were waiting. Mila was rushed to a nearby hospital, unconscious. Rashid was escorted off the yacht for questioning, his designer suit stained with blood. Sophia, shaking and tear-streaked, clutched a blanket around her shoulders as flashbulbs from paparazzi began to pop. Dubai's glittering skyline loomed silently above, as if watching the downfall of one of its own. What had started as whispered rumors and broken promises had now spilled into violence, a moment that would dominate headlines across continents. For Rashid Al-Mansoor, the marina was no longer a playground of power and prestige. It was a stage for betrayal, bloodshed, and the beginning of a nightmare that would not be contained by wealth or influence. The Dubai Marina, normally a haven for superyachts and social media snapshots, was now a crime scene under the glare of police floodlights. Rashid Al-Mansoor sat in a stark interview room at the Jumeirah police headquarters, his once immaculate suit crumpled, his charm replaced by exhaustion. Outside, a wall of reporters waited for updates on the influencer whose world had imploded in a single night. Detective Mariam Seed, one of the city's most respected investigators, entered the room with a tablet tucked under her arm. Her reputation for handling high-profile cases with precision preceded her, and she knew this one would draw intense scrutiny from both the public and Dubai's elite. She began with calm but direct questions. "Walk me through exactly what happened on the yacht." Rashid recited a version of events designed to minimize his culpability. A heated argument, a tragic accident, too much alcohol. But Mariam noted the inconsistencies. The security footage from the marina showed Rashid visibly agitated before boarding. Multiple guests had already given statements suggesting he had been seen arguing aggressively with both women earlier in the evening. Meanwhile, Sophia Klein was interviewed separately. Her composure had returned, but her voice cracked when she described the confrontation. "He was furious," she said. "Mila provoked him, but he didn't walk away." Sophia's account painted a picture of a man pushed past his breaking point. Yet she also admitted Mila had threatened to release damaging information about Rashid's business deals if he didn't go public with their relationship. Mila Novik, still in critical condition at the hospital, could not yet give her statement. But Detective Mariam knew the investigation couldn't wait. She dispatched officers to collect phone records, CCTV footage from nearby yachts, and statements from Rashid's staff. Rumors of his family's attempts to intervene quietly began to circulate, powerful connections that might sway the outcome if not handled carefully. The marina community was buzzing with speculation. Exclusive WhatsApp groups lit up with theories. Some blamed Mila for pushing too far, others suggested Rashid's anger had turned violent. A leaked snippet of an emergency radio call, "Female victim, significant blood loss, marina waters," spread online, fueling the media frenzy. Sponsors began severing ties with Rashid in real time. A luxury watch brand released a statement. "We are suspending our partnership with Mr. Al-Mansoor pending the outcome of the investigation." His Instagram following dropped by hundreds of thousands overnight, and hashtags calling for justice for Mila trended across the Gulf region. Detective Mariam faced mounting pressure from all sides. Senior officials quietly urged discretion, warning her not to embarrass one of Dubai's most recognizable figures. But she was determined to follow the evidence. When the yacht's captain, Yusuf Hamdan, testified that he'd overheard Rashid shouting, "You'll regret this," moments before the scream, the case's tone shifted. It was no longer a matter of PR damage control. It was potentially attempted murder. Sophia found herself vilified online. Some commenters accused her of conspiring with Rashid, while others portrayed her as the tragic woman scorned. Friends advised her to leave Dubai temporarily, but she refused. "If I run, it'll look like I have something to hide," she told a confidant. Privately, she wrestled with guilt. Had her decision to confront Rashid on the yacht escalated the situation? Miriam worked late nights, piecing together timelines and motives. The yacht's layout, the shattered glass, and the trajectory of Mila's injuries all pointed to a violent altercation rather than a simple accident. But without Mila's testimony, the case hinged on conflicting accounts and circumstantial evidence. As the investigation unfolded, Rashid's legal team launched a counter-narrative. Mila had slipped in her heels after lunging at him, and the injury was an unfortunate accident. They leaked selective statements to the press, portraying Rashid as a victim of malicious gossip. Yet Miriam obtained a private message from Rashid to Mila sent hours before the party. "If you ruin me tonight, you'll regret it." It was damning, and potentially enough to charge him. The tension in Dubai's elite circles was palpable. The marina, once a symbol of carefree indulgence, now stood as a reminder of how quickly privilege could unravel. For Rashid, the pressure mounted with each passing hour. For Sophia, the burden of truth weighed heavier. And for Detective Miriam Seed, the stakes had never been higher. One misstep could cost her career, but one breakthrough could bring justice to a case the whole world was watching. The Dubai courthouse was a fortress of glass and marble, its sleek lines now the epicenter of a global media frenzy. Outside, cameras flashed, microphones jostled for position, and reporters from London, Moscow, Manila, and New York crowded the steps. The headline had gone worldwide. Influencer Rashid Al-Mansoor faces attempted murder charges in yacht scandal. Inside, the courtroom was a stage where privilege and justice collided. Detective Miriam Seed took the stand first, presenting a meticulous timeline. The threatening messages, witness accounts of Rashid's anger, and the yacht's forensic evidence. Shards of glass, blood traces, and a bent railing consistent with a violent altercation. Her calm delivery carried weight, even as Rashid's high-powered attorneys objected repeatedly. Sophia Klein, elegant in a simple navy dress, testified next. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she described the confrontation. "It wasn't an accident. He was enraged. I begged him to stop." Her testimony made international headlines, with tabloids spinning her as both a hero and a betrayer. The prosecution played the infamous yacht video, Rashid's raised voice, Mila's angry gestures, and a brief but chilling moment when the camera caught his shove. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Rashid's lawyers countered with their narrative that Mila's fall had been a tragic misstep during a drunken argument. They painted Rashid as a philanthropist unfairly targeted by envious rivals and sensational media. When Mila Novick finally appeared, her recovery still visible in the bruises on her face, the courtroom fell silent. Her voice cracked, but her words were firm. "He looked me in the eye before it happened. I thought I was going to die." Her statement shattered any lingering doubts for many watching. Social media became its own battlefield. Hashtags like "Justice for Mila" and "Rashid on trial" trended globally. Opinion pieces debated power, wealth, and accountability in Dubai's glittering world. Influencers once eager to be seen at Rashid's side now distanced themselves publicly. A single photo of his empty luxury cars sitting untouched in his garage went viral, a symbol of fallen privilege. The verdict came after 2 grueling weeks. The judge, stern and deliberate, delivered the decision under a hush of anticipation. Rashid was found guilty of aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. Though acquitted of attempted murder due to insufficient proof of intent, the sentence was severe by Dubai's standards, 7 years in prison and heavy restitution to Mila. The courtroom erupted. Some gasped in relief, others in outrage. Mila wept quietly, clutching Sophia's hand. Detective Miriam exhaled, her duty fulfilled despite enormous pressure. Outside, the media swarmed again, broadcasting the images across continents. The marina skyline glimmered in the distance, unchanged, but for Rashid Al-Mansoor, the world had shifted irrevocably. His name, once synonymous with wealth and influence, would forever be linked to betrayal, scandal, and bloodshed. The marina skyline glittered as always, but for those touched by the scandal, Dubai would never feel the same. Mila Novick, her scars still healing, retreated from the city's spotlight. She quietly returned to Moscow, turning down interviews and endorsement deals. In private, she began using her platform to advocate for women navigating toxic relationships, though she avoided speaking Rashid's name. Sophia Klein stayed in Dubai but rebranded her image entirely. No more yacht parties or luxury sponsorships. Her followers noticed the shift. Posts about resilience, art, and rebuilding replaced glamorous selfies. The betrayal had cost her friendships and opportunities, but Sophia found purpose in supporting Mila and volunteering for local women's shelters. Detective Mariam Seed filed the case away with a mix of pride and sadness. She fought against immense pressure to secure accountability in a city where influence often shields the powerful. At home, she reminded her daughter that truth is not always easy, but it is always worth defending. Rashid Al-Mansoor's once iconic brand crumbled. Investors pulled out, his social media accounts were deactivated, and his name disappeared from invitations to the events he once dominated. Inside Dubai Central Prison, the man who had built his empire on image faced the reality he could no longer control. The world moved on quickly. Another scandal, another headline. Yet whispers of that night on the yacht lingered in Dubai's elite circles, a cautionary tale wrapped in wealth and desire. In the end, the story wasn't just about betrayal or violence. It was a reminder of the fragile line between glamour and darkness, and how the pursuit of power, unchecked, can destroy lives in an instant.